welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tina Zink and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. And in today's video, I am going to share a card that was demonstrated years ago by my dear friend and fellow Stampin' Up demonstrator, Allison Sullivan. Allison lives in New Westminster in British Columbia, and I adore her. She's amazing. And this card that she shared was a wow, and I've never forgotten it. And the stamps that she used on her card have long since retired, but they featured bird cages. And I can't remember the name of the stamp set. They're all different sizes of bird cages, and it was very sweet. Well, in our new Ghoulish Goodies stamp set, there's a bird cage, and that made me remember about this card that Allison demonstrated. This is a fun little interactive card, and when the recipient opens it, they're gonna get a fun pop-up surprise. So let me show you how this card comes together. Let's get stamping. All right, so for today's card, I am using the Magic in This Night suite. Now, I don't often do Halloween, but this year I loved the Halloween products from Stampin' Up, and I couldn't resist buying this entire suite. I'm so glad I did. I love it. And I'm also excited for this suite because we have wonderful photos of our little granddaughters dressed up at Halloween. So this is going to be perfect for my scrapbooking. So this is a beautiful, beautiful bundle. So let me show you, actually, sweet. So for today's card, I'm going to be using the Hallows Night Magic Bundle. So that is this stamp set and the coordinating dies. I am also going to be using the 1.5 inch metallic mesh ribbon. This is the coolest ribbon ever. But I'm also going to be pulling in a second stamp set, which is Ghoulish Goodies. And I have been using this set quite a bit this year. In fact, here is one of the cards that I made earlier this month, and I've got that mesh bow here. So super, super fun stamp set on the inside. So I'm going to be using that as well. But the technique, the pop-out technique, is really, really cool. So let's get cracking. This is another design as I go card, so I know in my mind what I want to do. I just hope it works. It will. Positive thinking. So I am actually going to spin this around, and I'm going to score this at 4.5 along the 4.25 along the 8.5 side, and then cut it at 5.5 along the 11-inch side, which gives me 2 card bases. I only need 1. So I'm going to set that aside, and actually, even though this would be a card base, I need to cut this down because I need a layer that measures 4 by 5.25. Oops, there we go. So I'm going to use this on the front of the card, and I'm going to decorate this first. So I'm bringing in some of this 1.5 inch mesh ribbon. Let me put some black behind it so you can see how cool that is. So, so cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some adhesive. That's going to go on the back, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this around because I want this to cover the front, which of course will cover the back as well, but that's okay. So this is just going to give a really cool background. So there we go. That's going to create the really neat background. And now I'm going to take the designer series paper, figure out what pattern I want to use. It's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I think I want to use this piece with the backs. So I am going to cut this down at 1.25. And then cut it at 4. If you make this at home, you want to make sure that you've got the bats going in the right direction, depending on if your card is landscape or portrait. And I decided to cut on this end versus this end because the bats are harder to see, and I can see them more on this piece here. Take my seal, and that's going to get put on the front of the card, which will also help to hold down that mesh. Okay. Okay, and now I've got a piece of our black and white twine. This is from our Playful Pets Trim Combo Pack. So this is the baker's twine. So I'm actually going to take some glue dots because I have that mesh on the back. It'll be easier just to put a couple glue dots down, I think. I'm going to put one there. Oops. Come here, you. Okay, so I'm gonna put one end on that glue dot. Wrap it around. Trim off that excess. And put the other glue dot down to hold that into place. Okay. So I'm just using Stampin' Dimensionals to put this layer on the front of my card. Now I'm going to take this image here and stamp it, and I don't have all my labels on, so I'm going to quickly put my label on. And I'm going to stamp this with black Memento ink. And I'm just going to stamp it right there. And I'm going to stamp a Happy Halloween. So I'm going to do a little bit of coloring. So I'm using my Stampin' Blends. I've got my light and dark pumpkin pie. And of course it's going to look a bit different because I'm coloring on crumb cake, but that's always fun to get the different looks. Now I'm going to use my Granny Apple Green, so I'm going to start with my light again. I tend to like using my light blends first and then adding my dark, but there's no right or wrong. You can start with your dark and add your lights. Whatever floats your boat. Whatever pickles your fancy, whatever makes you happy. There's my label. Now I'm going to cut it out. Okay, so I have my die cutting and emboss machine. Look at these awesome dies that come with this. So fun. And I think I just need the little one. So I've cut another piece of the same Designer Series paper, and now I'm using the larger label in this die collection. Oops. And I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to do a little embossing on this. So I'm taking my embossing buddy and I want to stamp "There's Magic in This Night." And I have been using this. I just was lazy and didn't put my labels on. So I'm going to put them on as I use them because I do prefer my labels on my stamps. Put that on. I'm going to ink this with my Versamark and I'm going to emboss it in white. Okay, I have decided I want to sponge the edge of this tag, so I'm just using a sponge dauber and I'm just going in my black. This really finishes off the edges so nice. Had I thought of it, I would have sponged the edge of this layer before I started on it, but I didn't think of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and sponge the outside layer instead. And the adhesive behind this is also going to help keep that mesh down on the card front. Okay, and dimensionals for this one. And I'm just going to center this right on top, like so. Okay, and now I'm going to add some rhinestones. Just to add a little bit of bling here and there. And I'm going to put it on this piece. I think I'm going to put one in the center of that cobweb. Put another one, whoops, here. That really makes it jump off the page nicely. We'll do a bigger one. Put a bigger one here because there's a little ink spot, so I'm hiding that. I'll put one up here. And I want one more little tiny one. I think I'm going to put the tiny one right there. So that just adds some fun bling to the front of the card. So there's the front designed. Now it's time to do the inside and the fun pop-up technique. So for the inside, I'm going to stamp on Whisper White cardstock. So this is an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of cardstock. So I'm going to cut my Whisper White to measure 8.25 by 5.25. Okay, so I don't want to fold this in half right away because I'm going to be stamping, so I don't want the crease marks there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure, I'll turn it this way, I'm using our Stampin' Up! Grid paper, which I love. So I'm going to line this up in that corner, and I'm going to draw a pencil mark. Whoop, cat. I'm going to draw a pencil mark at the 4.25 mark. And because I have the grid marks, that's just going to help me keep it straight. And then just slightly past that 2-inch mark, I'm going to draw another line. I'm going to flip this around and do the same thing. So basically I'm drawing lines at the halfway mark on each side. So again, just slightly past that 2-inch mark, using the grid marks to line up my ruler. So there's my measuring done. Now I'm going to bring in the Ghoulish Goodies, and these are from Extra Cards. And I'm going to take my bird cage. So I am going to stamp, lining this up along this middle line. So I want to stamp in the center, right about there. And I'm going to do the same thing, but this one I'm going to stamp it up higher. And I'm going to do this one kind of in between the two. And now I'm going to stamp the most spectacular time of the year. I'm going to stamp that in black as well. But I am going to stamp this right here. So this is going to be on the left side of my card. And I have to stamp the cat because the cat is stinking cute. I'm going to stamp the cat down here. And I'm going to take my eek. And I'm going to stamp that with pumpkin pie because we have pumpkin pie on the front of the card. So it's going to help tie that in a little bit and add a bit of color to this page as well. So I'm just going to stamp a few eeks on here. Now I'm going to take my Granny Apple Green, and I'm going to stamp my boo right by the cat. Oh, we got a little spider. We should definitely use the spider as well. This set is so much fun. spider right there. I'm going to sponge the edges on this as well. And in this set, we've got some of these spiders. I think I need to add one of them. I'm going to stamp the big spider too, because he's kind of spooky looking. I'm going to stamp him right there. And I'm going to stamp him coming down here too to get the cat. There, that's my inside. All good. I'm going to take my Granny Apple Green marker and color in the kitty's eyes. I'm going to take my pumpkin pie, color in the collar. I'm going to leave his nose white, and then I'm probably going to add a rhinestone on the collar. So I think I'm just going to leave it at that. So now what I'm going to do is take my eraser and get rid of those pencil marks. And I'm going to grab my black marker and just draw some lines from the bird cage up. So this is actually the center line. So I'm just lining up my ruler to that. So now I'm going to take my bone folder. I'm going to fold this in half. Then I'm going to bring this edge into the center and fold it. I'm going to bring this into the center and fold it. And I'm going to fold it this way now, just to make sure we've got some really good creases in there. Okay, so now this is the mountain fold. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start cutting. So I want my birds to be cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut right along the bird cage, just like so. And you want to make sure that your cut lines are the same length. So that one can go a little bit longer. Okay. And now I'm going to fold this because I want to do the same thing. And this one. So now the spots that I cut, I want to give a crisp edge. So I'm going to fold this over, lift up my tab, and just go over it with my bone folder. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Fold that tab over. And over here, fold that tab over and give it a good crease. And on the two outside creases, you're going to pop them out. So these ones go out. And on the middle crease, it gets popped in. Okay, so that gets popped in. And these ones get popped out. Okay, so you got your outside creases popped out and your middle crease popped in. Now I'm going to add my tear and tape and put that on. And of course you don't want to add tape where your tabs are. So as I'm peeling this off, I just remembered we don't want any adhesive on that middle panel. We only want adhesive on the two outsides. So I'm really glad I used tear and tape first of all, because it has that backing on it, whereas if it was seal, I'd have to start all over again. So I'm leaving the backing on. So pretend I didn't do that. You only want adhesive on your two outer panels. not your two center middle panels. Okay, now let's pull my card back in. And then I'm just going to simply line this up. And then I'm just going to poke this one out, poke this one in, poke this one out, and then close it. And now when I open my card, I've got the pop outs. Isn't that cool? That is so much fun. Before I forget, I wanted to add a rhinestone to that cat's collar. So that's going to be a fun card to get, and then when you open it, you've got the 3D. Super fun. And of course you could decorate the inside more and add more color, but I think that is just such a fun card. So I'm going to show you some other samples that I've made using this really fun pop-out technique. So here's another one I made using all the same products that I used on the first card. Just designed it differently. I added some cute little bats and the spider. Used the same designer series paper. This is the reverse side of that pattern. Isn't it pretty? And I'm just so loving this mesh. And then you open it up and shazam! I've got bats flying around everywhere. So much fun. And then I can just use my white or silver gel pen. I think silver would look pretty, and I can write my message here. I'm excited to give away Halloween cards this year. Not something I ordinarily do, but I think this year, any excuse to give a card to someone, we need to. Look here's a Christmas one. So this one used I'll show you the center in a second, but I used these ones. I used Christmas Gleaming. This was carried over from last year. And I used ornamental ornaments. Oh my gosh, you guys. I am going to have to buy another H block because this stamp, which is this one here for addressing envelopes, I am using it constantly on my envelopes now because it looks that great. So I'm going to want a designated block just for this stamp because it's not coming off. That's how much I'm loving it. But the whole bundle is awesome. But yeah, I use the ornaments on the inside. So let me show you. Here's the front. And the little decorative bit here is this bit right there. And then when I open it, notice it's landscape, not portrait. Boom! I have ornaments popping off the page. And so is my holly. So my holly and some of the berries are popping off the page as well. And I could write my message down here. But how fun is that? And how perfect for the expression, deck the halls with balls of holly, and I've got my holly. But when you open it up, I mean, we are really decking the halls with those ornaments and some additional holly. The sky is the limit with these cards and this technique. Just look at your stamp sets and let your imagination run wild and have fun with this. Imagine snowflakes, or imagine if it's not Christmas at all and it's all different flowers. For a masculine card, you could use the beautiful Sailing Home stamp set. This is one of my all-time most used stamp sets, just saying. But imagine having, you know, your anchor or your boats. I mean, come on, you guys. The possibilities are out there. It's so much fun. I was so looking forward to sharing this with you, and I hope you guys have a lot of fun with this. Thanks for watching. Please remember to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and the little bell next to it so you're notified every time I upload a video. And if you could give me a thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. Have a great day and happy stamping.